All right, Shalawam, Israel. I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to YAHAWAH, YAHAWASHI, double honor to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and Shalawam to Lek out there doing his work of faith, a labor of love and true sincerity. Right now, I want to get into a brief topic. I believe I'll entitle this, Our Life is Consumed, and just going into the aspect, of matter of fact, let me just bring the scripture out first. This is the book of Psalms 31 and 10. For my life is spent with grief, and my years with sighing. My strength faileth because of mine iniquity, and my bones are consumed. Okay, and when we look at our lives here, in this captivity of America, our life is nothing but grief, and our years is nothing but sighing. That's why we constantly long for the kingdom, and we long to get out of this place, because no matter what you do within a society, or however you try to make ends meet, we're never going to be happy here, in which we know we're not supposed to, because this place is not our rest, so it's always going to be a form of sighing and crying, and a form of grief here, no matter what our circumstances is, even if, you may be in a time period where, the Lord is looking out for you, holding you down, but, at the end of the day, it's still all grief, it's still vexation of spirit, because we still slaves here, so I'll read this again. It says, for my life is spent with grief, and my years with sighing. My strength faileth because of mine iniquity, and my bones are consumed. And, when it says, my strength faileth because of mine iniquity, and my bones are consumed, because, the scriptures say that, our righteousness is as filthy rags. And, with that being said, we're constantly in error, for the fact of, we truly can't uphold the laws, statutes, and commandments, as we should, or as we're supposed to, because we're in our captivity, and, a lot of times, you may do things out of negligence and different things like that. And, just overall, this world is sin, the spirit that consumes this world is the spirit of sin. It's the spirit of Esau, the devil, the physical counterpart, of spiritual demon Satan. And, it's like nothing, everything, but righteousness is around us when we walking in this world, We're the only light that walketh in this world, man. The men of the hopeful elect, those 144,000 men, and, the helpers and so on and so forth, that walk the streets of America, and the other places of the world, we are the only light that is in this world. So when you compare that to the billions and billions of people that are here within this earth, that is very slim, man. That's very slim, So it's nothing but sin and iniquity, and, just constantly being around us. And, our lives are being consumed because of all of the wickedness that's around us, man, And when you truly think about it, that's what happened, basically, even though everything, falls into the Most High's plans, it's all prophecy, but going into, Adam and Eve, and, Eve being in transgression, causing Adam to go off, and from then on there, what did the Lord do? The Lord cursed the soil. Let me just grab that. Yeah, I'm just trying to get to the point. Yeah, here we go. This Genesis 3, and I start at 13. It says, and the Lord power said unto the woman, what is this that thou hast done? And the woman said, the serpent beguiled me, and I did eat. And the Lord power said unto the serpent, because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle, and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly shalt thou go, and dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. Unto the woman, I should have got straight to this point, but yeah, verse 16. Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow, and thy conception in sorrow. Thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. And unto Adam he said, because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife, and hast eaten of the tree of which I commanded thee, saying, thou shalt not eat of it, cursed is the ground for thy sake, and sorrow shalt thou eat of it all the days of thy life. Thorns and thistles shall it bring forth to thee, and thou shalt eat the herb of the field. In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread, till thou return unto the ground. For out of it was thou taken, for dust thou art, and unto dust shalt thou return. Right? And, so through this, the Most High, he cursed man, he cursed woman, he cursed Esau, which at that time wasn't known as Esau. And, he actually had pigment, that deceived Eve, into the philosophies, and stuff like that. But this is another way in which our lives are consumed, because if the foods and things are not yielding forth, what they're supposed to, what that brings our life down, man. That brings the whole value of life overall in general down. Now, when you look at, how tall they used to be back then, and David was around 6-7 feet, something like that. He was considered to be, short in those days. So imagine how tall the average man was in those days. And now when you look at today, we bring forth midgets, and we 5 feet and 4 foot and all of that. You know what I'm saying? Look at the quality of life. Things not being produced with seeds and things not giving it the proper nutrients brings a lower value overall of life. And also going into the age factor. When you look at, I believe it was Methuselah, who was the oldest, ever, in the world history, was 969, if I'm not mistaken, But since then, the Lord not only cursed man, cursed woman, and all of that, cursed the earth, but with all of that being done, the Lord had to bring the lifespan down, because it would naturally happen through the earth not yielding forth what it should. So it's a natural process of things. If the Lord cursed the earth, then man is automatically cursed. The man is automatically cursed, for the simple fact that it won't bring enough nutrients to sustain the life of man as long, and sustain man at the same height as he was, thousands and thousands of years ago, So this is Genesis 6:3. It says, and the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. Okay, so the Lord, lowered the time frame from, man back then used to live around a period of 1,000 years, from when you just averaging things out, and when you look at the timelines and the genealogies and stuff, and how old men were back then, the lifespan was around 1,000 years. So the Lord lowered that from around 1,000 years to 120 years. So, and then from there, it just kept lowering itself. The value of life, just kept going down. And why? Because the Lord brought the earth down ultimately. Yeah. So real quick, this is the book of Second Ezra's 14, and where do I want to start? I start at verse 10, and it says, for the world has lost his youth, and the times begin to wax old. For the world is divided into 12 parts, and the 10 parts of it are gone already, and half of a 10th part. And there remaineth that which is after a half of the 10th part. Okay, so, as we know it, the earth was set for a period of 12,000 or so years, so 9.5 parts of the earth at that time were gone, so there still remained another pretty much around another 2.5 parts left, after the 10th part, because that was at that point, that was when they were speaking this, that was 9,500 years into existence, because Ezra was around 500 years before our Lord YAHAWASHI was born. So from the time of YAHAWASHI until now, that's been another 2,000 years. So to show you how the earth, how the lifespan of earth was set up to be, and the Lord brought man's age down throughout this process. Was it more on this? Yeah, that was the point on that. So we see how that the earth, it waxeth old, and if anything that's in its youth, they're going to naturally lose value to themselves, So and throughout all of this, just imagine, just look at it how, back then there were morals and standards and things like that, but now through times and stuff like that, and our people losing our heritage, all of our morals and different things like that went out of the window, because we no longer held our laws, statutes, and commandments as we properly should, and just going back to show how the Lord lowered the lifespan again. I believe it's Psalms 90 and 10. Yeah, that's the book of Psalms 90 and 10. It says, the days of our years are 70 years and 10. So what, 70? And if by reason of strength there be 80 years, yet is there strength, labor and sorrow, for it is soon cut off, and we fly away. So the Lord just kept numbering down the years of man's lifespan. Now look at it. The average person nowadays is probably barely even living. Well, for Jake, it's more so like 50s or 60s or something like that, through what? The sin, man, through iniquity, through, us not having the proper knowledge, of these scriptures, the proper knowledge of YAHAWASHI, in order to know how to righteously live, so we can breathe life into ourselves through the Spirit of the Lord, through this knowledge, through this wisdom, through taking care of our diet, through, prayer overall, and that's why, we have, matter of fact, let me go to the book of Numbers, Numbers 15, and Numbers 15 and 37. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, and bid them that they make them fringes in the borders of their garments throughout their generations, and that they put upon the fringe of the borders a ribbon of blue. And it shall be unto you for a fringe, that ye may look upon it, and remember all the commandments of the Lord, and do them, and that ye seek not after your own heart and your own eyes, after which ye used to go a-whoring, that ye may remember and do all my commandments, and be holy unto the Lord your power. Okay, so this is a big reason why, upon our garments, while we have these things, so that we to look upon them, and that we continue to be breathing life, man, through the word of the Lord, even though our physical is constantly dying, but we're life is being breathed into us through these scriptures, through the knowledge and wisdom and understanding of the Lord, but without, these scriptures, our life is consumed by nothing but sin, grief, and utter death, because there's nothing else in this place for us, man. That's why we constantly have to cleave, closer unto the Lord as these days, you know, of Jacob. So, you know, with that, you know, I hope this segment was edifying. And I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to YAHAWAH, YAHAWASHI, double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and SHALAWAM to elect out there doing this work of faith and labor of love and true sincerity. SHALAWAM.